Or does this society actually hero worship stolen wealth and all of that? So there's so many angles, but if just for the sake of the audience out there, we have to understand that the bulk of the people in the country, both in the private and public sector, are living above their means. They are obtaining goods under false pretenses. They are extorting, right? And they are extorting, and actually doing all sorts of dysfunctional behavior. And that's why I come back. Why is it happening? We have to go back. We have problems. There's a problem of growth, problem of revenue, problem of poverty, abject poverty and general poverty. And then there's also problem of disparity in income. The reward sacrifice ratio. That is, in those days there used to be, if you work hard, you get rewarded for it. But now the values are whether you work hard or not, right? In fact, the less you work, the more you get compensated because you have more time to carry out dysfunctional activity, right? But now it has become a problem to society. And so I think, first and foremost, we must praise the Bureau of Statistics for at least attempting to carry out this. I don't think the data is that strong in the sense that it talked about $4.6 billion, which is 1% of GDP.
And that's the next question. If it's just 1% of our GDP, and our GDP at $350 or $400 billion by whatever estimate, 1%, we can write that off.
No, it's not. That's not what we lost. What we've lost is that the behavioral patterns, the values of the system, everybody, it's so widespread, it's broad, it's deep, and it's actually polluting society. So you have a society which incentivizes and hero worships stolen wealth and the behavior that comes with it. And therefore, even those who can do work, who are productive, they now want to do this. So in any society, it's like a bell-shaped curve. The people that carry out dysfunctional behavior should be in the fringe, maybe 1% of society, maybe 2%. But when you have that every Nigerian bribes at a minimum 5 times a year, right? That is what this report says. So even the ordinary guy, the woman who is selling tomatoes and pepper, is bribing at least 5 times a year, which means at least once every 2 months she's bribing somebody, and somebody's receiving. But I think even that is totally underestimated. I would say that the average Nigerian bribes at least once every 2 weeks.
But corrupt practices is always a perception, whether it is from Transparency International or from MBS. It's always perception.
Yeah.
And perception, they say, is reality. Yeah. I could be wrong. In law, when you try to unravel it and get to what you call the hard facts. Yeah. Do we have a consensus across Nigeria? And this report doesn't present it as if Northwest, East, South, and Middle Belt, that we're on the same page as far as, one, whether corruption is increasing, or two, if it's decreasing, or what we are really doing about it?
Well, let us say that we went from mild corruption to intense corruption to pervasive corruption and democratized corruption, right? Which means that it's all over the place, right? You get to power corruptly, you stay in power corruptly, and after that you have to corrupt to protect yourself from, right? To a point where it became impunity. Impunity means that look, I can shoot at you and walk away and nothing happens. So the people who are to protect me from being robbed, the people who are to enforce the law if I'm robbed, the people who are to ensure that those who are convicted, right? So all the way from the police to the judges, to the lawmakers, to the private sector, to the media, everybody is on the take. Now, why? Because there is a problem of poverty on one hand, there's a problem of economic suboptimality, and so we have to go back to address this issue. And there's no silver bullet. The war against corruption, first of all, is a mantra, but then even in the war against corruption, there are people who are corrupting the war against corruption. It becomes a farce. So we need to accept that this discourse is very important.
So who leads this effort at getting all of us taken to the cleaners and be born again?
Well, there are many dimensions. There's the religious dimension, there's the education dimension, there's the economic structural dimension. If you move from imperfect markets towards perfect markets, where there's plenty of competition, liberalization, and all this, you will find that the amount of extortion, the amount of booby traps, the amount of fraudulent enrichment will reduce. But it has to be led, but it has, more than anything else, you have to be genuine. It's not lip service. You cannot on one hand say you're fighting corruption, and then people are living like sheikhs in a land, you know, what I say, there's poverty all over the place, abject poverty, general poverty, and then people are living large, flying private jets all over. So there has to be some kind of equity, and there has to be transparency. You cannot pay lip service, because people can see, in the social media world, they can see you. If you are living above your means, if your salary is so much, and then you're on Metrofile, the other, having all of these big celebrations, then, you know, what you see is what you get, and what they say is what you don't see is what gets you.
This survey was conducted between June 2015 and June 2016, which falls a little bit under the ambit within the period of the new Buhari's administration.
Yeah.
Do you think this administration should give Yemi Kale and his team at MBS a handshake, or they should give him a knock on the head?
I think he should be given a handshake. He should be given laurels. The fact that you had the courage to go and ask people, how many times have you bribed today? How many times have you bribed this year? And people came out and said, okay, no, I haven't done too much. It's only 5 times a year, right? Okay, please. You know, it reminds me of somebody there was an election during the MPN days, and this taxi driver in Abeokuta said, oh, I've only voted 10 times today. Let it know. I don't want to be too much. 10 is enough. So and he was telling a passenger that I voted 10 times, but I don't want to be too excessive. And the guy in the taxi said, oh, okay, fine. But to him, oh, the taxi driver says I voted 10 times in what is supposed to be a free and fair election. Oh, you know? So you've got to a point where you come out and you're driving a Lamborghini, driving a Mercedes-Benz, having a big party, and you have no visible means of livelihood. Meanwhile, you are paid only a tax of 20,000. This is what the problem is. There's corruption, there's stealing, there are leakages, and on top of that, there's waste and inefficiency.
Mind-boggling. Let's talk about whistleblower when we come back after the break. A lot of whistles have been blown and so much money has been made. Ms. Makewani, the Chief Executive Officer at Financial Derivatives Company. 2 minutes.